the best memory I have of the Phil experience was how I met him. So I showed up at Terrapin. My wife was pregnant with our daughter, and she's a huge Dead fan. So that was special for her to be with me for that. I'm about to set up, and I don't know where they want me on the stage plot, right? And so I'm pretty sure it was Luther, because Luther will do things like this. He was like, "Oh man, go next to Phil, man." And I was like, oh, "Thank you." Little did I know how loud Phil is. And it's not the desired location. So I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." It's my first time playing with Phil. "Oh, thank you." Then I'm like, "Oh, great, I get to be over by Phil." I was never over there again, by the way, after that first time. Because, whoa, he has a PA. It's not a bass rig. It's a PA, like, for, like, a shed, you know. So I set my stuff up, and we started screwing around, John Medeski and myself and Cody, Luther's brother Cody Dickinson on drums. And so we're playing, and then Phil arrives and comes on stage and joins us. And so I met Phil playing music. Like, before we ever said a word to one another, we met musically, which I thought was very apropos, but also just, I don't know, dreamlike, you know, because it's sort of like the dreams we have of jamming with heroes or something, like when we're kids, you know. It's like, oh, you know, it's like I got up and the Beatles wanted to come in the front door and jam, you know what I mean, you know. So it was just like, so what an amazing way to meet him. And like, we jammed for however long we jammed for, and then it was like done, and it's like, "Hi, I'm JD," and it's like, "Hi, it's great to meet you, I'm Phil," you know. And it's just like, yeah, I know. Luther Dickinson, to my understanding, I could be wrong, but Anders Osborne had been doing a lot of stuff with Phil, and like that, the lineup during that period often was Anders and Luther and Cody and John Medeski and Phil, like, as like the core. And so, to my understanding, I think Anders couldn't make a residency at Terrapin when Terrapin Crossroads was still a thing. It was beautiful. And so Luther put my name forward to Phil and the powers that be. And so I got a call late one night asking if I'd be available or interested, and it was pretty mind-blowing. And I think Luther gave me a heads up of some sort, or contacted me just after I got the call or something like that. Like, I don't remember the order exactly, but yeah, asked if I would come. And it was the first time I did it, and I only did it a handful of times because Phil doesn't do that much, you know, and hasn't for a while. But there was that first residency at Terrapin, yeah, showed up and got a huge amount of songs that may or may not be included. And luckily, there was enough guests that it wasn't super stressful. But the thing that was odd for me was, I was, as a music fan like you, I owned the records that one should own of the Grateful Dead. You know, Europe 72 and Live Dead and Working Man's and American Beauty and maybe one or two others. But I never was, when it came to that era, I was all about the Allman Brothers and especially Miles, Bitches Brew era, Miles on the Corner. That whole period of Miles is still a huge influence, and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that. And like the Dead kind of fall, for me at least, always fell below that. So I was really stressed initially about, like, sort of imposter syndrome. Like, of course I want to do this and it would be amazing, but I was scared, you know. And so I talked to Luther about it, and Luther's been a really great kind of older brother kind of person in my life. There's a lot of other vignettes that Luther fits in. Like when my wife and I got pregnant, the entire time we were pregnant, like Luther was like the constant checking in, like, man, it's awesome, it's gonna be amazing, and like he's just a bro, and in a real way, like more than just a person that, you know, I work with occasionally. Like, so anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I talked to him about it, and he was like, no, man, he's like, it's about the improvisation, man. He's like, I wasn't the biggest grit. He's like, I didn't know that stuff when I started working with Phil. He's like, I'm the same as you. Like, I could go sub for the Allman Brothers yesterday, let alone today. He's like, no, man. He's like, you're totally good. Like, the lasting impression I had from that, and we did a really awesome residency in Las Vegas at the Hard Rock, which was super fun. Where the Blind Boys of Alabama were the special guests, which was really sick. And their band leader is one of Luther's oldest friends, and we've become friends over the, you know, like there's so much, as you know, familia in what we do. That was really great. And there was one or two other, like it was only, you know, like 4 times that I worked with Phil, you know, but it was enough to send me into about a year of really being in it and investigating it to an extent that I never had before. It took, for me at least, it took being in the middle of it with him to fully understand like what was so beautiful, what I'd been missing, you know. And for me, the thing that was most revealing was most of the improvisational music that I was a fan of. It's assertive, okay? Like it's not necessarily aggressive, but it's like there is a distinct, like, all right, we're going. You know, like whether it's Miles or McLaughlin or Herbie or something, or Hendrix or Dwayne or Dickie, or, you know, like there's a whereas with the Dead, what was so refreshing is that you just let go. You just let the water, you just it's like you're floating on an inner tube down the river, which I've never done, but I'm guessing, you know, like that's what it felt like musically. And I'd never been in a musical environment where that was A-okay or B, the deal. And it was such a beautiful lesson to learn, and to learn it with one of the guys. I mean, I remember Luther saying something to the effect of, you're going to love it. Like the first time you play music with Phil, it's like tapping into the absolute lifeblood, the life source. I don't remember what term he used of the improvisation. Like he's like, it's electric, and it is. And it's, so Danielle Nicole, who was in Trampled Underfoot, she was at least in Vegas with us. Jackie Green, who I've become good buddies with over the years. Jackie was in Vegas as well, which was really helpful because that means I didn't have to sing all of the songs. Like, it was great because, you know, and Phil, as a side note, Phil is so cool with, like, you can have charts, he understands that it's a lot. Yeah. And so he has charts, he has words, you know, so it's like totally fine. So, Jackie was, and then, Junior Mack, who played with J-Mo, was a guest. Tosh Neal, who was in a great band called the London Souls, and I believe he's out with Slash now, was at one of the Terrapin ones, and Graham, his son, was present at all of them. And Graham, I never got to know Graham that well. Luther's gotten to know him super well. Those are the ones that Roosevelt Collier, the Sacred Steel guy, he was on. So there was always a lot of guests, and I'm sure that I'm forgetting a bunch. I remember, I have like really great memories of certain musical moments. One in particular where I made Phil laugh, like where, you know, like it was such to get that reaction, to like do something that just made him go, ha ha, like, you know, this big, huge laugh, like. and it was I don't know, it was just a really beautiful time, and something that I'll always hold really dear. I mean, I would hope that maybe an opportunity to get to do it again would lie in the future. You never know with those things, but the handful of times I got to do it was super fun. And yeah, it's thanks to Luther, and thanks to Anders, I think, for being busy